All right, hello everybody. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. I am very, very excited today. I am chatting with Xulxer Bawlsick of extreme metal band out of Denver, Colorado called Nail Splitter. Really excited to be chatting with you, Xulxer. Thank you so much for meeting with me today.
What up, man? Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah. Cheers. How you doing today?
Oh, we are rolling, dude. It's been a lazy Saturday. It's gonna go from a lazy Friday. Well, when we got off work, it started lazy, but it's been
That's
lazy since we got off work last
yeah,
night.
that's a good thing, right? That's a good thing.
Oh, indeed, definitely.
Yeah. So let's talk about you guys, Nail Splitter. You guys released not too long ago just this killer album, EP, Hail to Agony. Incredibly complex, intricate, really fascinating stuff. I mean, I was really blown away when I heard it.
Thank
And
you. Thank you very much.
yeah, it's really, really compelling music. And I know you get categorized as deathcore, but I mean, and the reason I kind of introduced you as an extreme metal band is there's so much going on, and so many kind of genres and subgenres that seem to be you're grabbing. I mean, it's really complex music. It's really fascinating, but also inviting isn't the right word, I guess, but it's even though it's very complex and intricate and there's a lot happening, it's still fucking rocks. It's I mean it's
Yeah, it's accessible.
yeah, accessible. Perfect. That's an
Yes,
excellent word
yes.
for it. Yeah.
Thank you for noticing all of those. Those are very fine, like kind of behind the scenes hidden details that you just picked them all out. It was awesome, dude.
So kind of tell me how did the album come together? Are you the primary writer, or is it a collaborative method with the whole band?
So each of us have written different parts of different songs. I've written guitar parts or drum parts. Both of the guitarists have written guitar, drum, bass parts. The bassist is a heavy influence on the guitars. He also plays guitar, so he's written riffs. We all kind of come together to pull it all together.
Cool.
The deathcore is kind of just for branding because it's sort of, we feel like we fit it. This extreme metal band fits kind of in the deathcore genre really well because of the like the theatrical portions of the performance that we want to put on, and it will whoops, grab the cord with my foot. We think it's gonna fit well on stage with other deathcore performances, but like you said, we do draw from a wide range of places. Christian, he actually prefers to play saxophone in his free time than guitar right now. Wow. So if that gives you any idea as to the interest of music, he listens to classical music. We all listen to jazz, old school hardcore, modern hardcore, old school death metal, modern death metal, MySpace deathcore to modern deathcore. Everything. We try to jam as many influences as possible, but still make it kind of smooth. And we all have a part in that. That's kind of the writing process. We're working on one song right now. It was originally entirely written by the bassist, but we started working on it. We had a very solid concept. The song was a Void March, and we had an idea where we wanted it to kind of like be just a headbanger, just fucking rock, like literally just the reason why we listen to this kind of stuff, and we couldn't really nail it. But then the next one that we came out, it was kind of primarily the bassist again, but then the lead guitarist had a piece on it and he changed the entire lead structure. And then the other guitarist added the end kind of, it's kind of a thal snot breakdown at the end. But then there's like a vocal, or not a vocal, like a sample piece that our bassist made that goes in between the end and kind of sort of the bridge ending. And it is exactly what we were trying to do earlier when we weren't all kind of inputting into it, but then we nailed it as soon as we all kind of inputted into it. I'm actually still writing vocals for that right now. I did not have any musical input on that except for saying that I wanted to keep the rhythm of the original lead. So Christian, being the genius he was, transposed the lead that he had into the rhythm that the old lead was, while maintaining the chord structure that he had on top. I am so excited. It's going to be the next single. I'm incredibly excited. It's going to be really cool.
That sounds great. When will I don't know if do you have a kind of a target date for release on that, or?
Me and Jake talked about it a little bit. We want to have it early spring, mid-spring, so like April at the absolute latest, like the end of April, kind of like the end of tax season, sort of.
Okay, so fairly soon.
Yeah, hopefully that would be the ideal, because we released, the last thing we did kind of publicly music wise was, you know, almost early January when we did it, like right at the end of December when we released the CD. So it's been a couple months. I think, you know, people deserve something more if we're to stay interesting.
Very cool. What is I was curious, what's the history of the band? How did you guys all get together?
So it was originally just the bassist and the lead guitarist. They wanted to do kind of like a hardcore thing. So Jake was writing the drums, bass, and guitar, and Christian was helping with the guitar, and then Christian was doing vocals, who's the lead guitarist right now. Christian had just picked up the guitar maybe like 2 years prior, but he came from piano and like a classical music background where he was working professionally in the industry on that side. But he left it because he said he didn't like kind of the heart of the industry, and went back to his roots in metal from when he was in high school, and still had all those friends, and picked up guitar, you know, because he wanted to rekindle that passion. Phenomenal musician, understands like instruments, right? So him and Jake got together. Christian was like, man, I don't really want to do vocals. I feel like I'm a little too old. So they started looking for a vocalist. In come me. I had a post on Craigslist. I had just moved to Denver, had built a YouTube video kind of basis to showcase the skills over time, which ended up paying off. So we got together, the three of us, and instead of being kind of a hardcore project, we wanted to be sort of like strictly MySpace deathcore. So we did the 3-song demo that can be found on Bandcamp. It wasn't really super like impactful for everyone else. Like we didn't really try to promote it much, but it was kind of like the solidification of the band. Original name was Anthrothesia, which is kind of a Greek Latin bastardization of human sacrifice. But then we eventually changed the name of that 3-song demo to Anthrothesia by Nail Splitter, as we wanted to kind of focus on something that was sort of more understandable, more readable, more pronounceable, you know. And Nail Splitter also kind of evokes imagery and thoughts of like kind of agony, suffering, physical pain that can be transposed in lyrics, etc., etc. So then we knew that because there was the 3-piece, we wanted to, you know, develop the idea, develop the sound. We got Cody, the rhythm guitarist, and then we spent almost a year and a half with a drum machine practicing and playing, practicing, building, looking for a drummer. Couldn't find a drummer. And I didn't even know this until last Thursday when our last practice was. Apparently, our lead guitarist was already talking to Connor, the drummer, for like almost 9-10 months, where the drummer was like, no, I can't play this stuff. it's too much. And then, which now he ends up writing all the stuff, you know, like it's incredible. He's come so far. Incredible drummer. Maybe he hasn't come so far and just didn't trust himself, but he's incredible musician. Props to Connor. So then after all of that, we kind of decided that we wanted to have more influences than just MySpace deathcore. Connor came in kind of with a very interested in doing like Meshuggah style, like big ambient kind of technical stuff. Christian wants kind of like, you know, more big ambient technical, but like melodically technical. Cody has like a gent hardcore background. Jake has the hardcore deathcore background. I've got a death metal deathcore background. So it all just kind of like fleshes together into, you know, just a really good metal project. And that's what kind of Nail Splitter is right now. I hope that we develop on that sound, the one that we're kind of trying to build off of this most recent EP. Most recent EP is kind of like a prior coagulation of the vision, I guess. Okay. And then hopefully when we do the full length by the end of this year, maybe release it in spring 2023. Hopefully that's the plan. Maybe a little later than that, like early June, latest, to have like that full sound, like the Nail Splitter sound that we'll go forward with.
Have you, excuse me, have you, as far as a full album, have you already, are you guys fleshing stuff out already, or you're writing?
Yeah, we actually just took inventory in the Google Drive recently. We have 23 songs that could be finished. Yeah, way too much stuff to only have dropped one single, or to have not dropped a single yet. That's kind of what's the driving force behind really fleshing this new song out. But we'll do this with 9 to 10 more songs to have, like, we want like an hour long full length, like actual real, freshman release kind of thing.
Nice. Well, and it sounds like it's a very cognitive approach. Like, it's not just throwing stuff together. Like, you guys are really putting a lot of thought into, what do we want to be? What do we want to sound like? What do we want the album to sound like? So, yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of writing going on, and a lot of, that's cool. That's great.
Everything is very premeditated. We get some stuff from jamming, of course. Like, we feel like that's important, especially Christian and Connor together, lead guitarist and drummer. The jam sessions that they have kind of breed ideas that fit in between places that otherwise we wouldn't have answers to, kind of thing. But yeah, it is very premeditated, the whole process.
Very cool. Now, are you doing live shows? Are you guys performing live currently? Is that happening? I'm not exactly sure what the Denver scene's like right now.
So the most recent show that we put on was November 2nd at the Roxy, which was killer, awesome. And then COVID restrictions kind of really stomped down. They kind of let off mid-July or mid-January a little bit, not July, mid-January a little bit, kind of relaxed a lot. We were about to try and like set up another show, but then both our bassist and our drummer and our lead guitarist or rhythm guitarist all moved all at the same time within the same like 3-week period. So we kind of stopped practicing, stopped playing shows, stopped having any ideas. The pandemic strike came again here early February, and then February like 13th, 12th or 13th, they removed the mask mandate again and allowed like full gatherings again. So hopefully in March, we've got a small show that we wanted to play with a couple friends from South Dakota and a band. Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen though, because that venue, they said they were doing Metal Mondays, but then I went there to check out the venue on a Monday and they were closed. I was like, well, everything else is all your advertisement and branding is EDM stuff. I don't know if this is a real metal venue or not. So who knows? Maybe we're playing a show in March, but maybe not. I don't know.
Well, hopefully.
Be cool.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully that happens. That would be cool.
Really itching for a show. Would really like to perform soon.
Do you have any plans of like a tour, getting out of state?
Yeah, definitely. We want to do like a small 2-week tour around the Midwest to start, just to kind of get our feet wet.
Cool.
Our lead guitarist has already expressed that he is not interested in touring, so we still kind of have to solve the issue of finding a touring guitarist that can perform on the level that we want. But we've already discussed that in detail. He's down with us finding a touring guitarist. It just kind of adds one more layer to the touring plan. But it is in the works. Unfortunately, everybody that we've asked so far has said no. They want to be in a band around here, but they don't want to go on the road, which is kind of the thing we're running into right now, which is fine. We'll get there, but it is an obstacle.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah, that can make things a little tricky, but
yes.
And it is interesting. There are there's multiple bands out there, especially some of big professional bands that same thing, where they have touring musicians because somebody can't, for work reasons, or they just don't want to tour.
Right, exactly. The Christian cited Periphery actually off the bat as having one of their lead guitarists, the guy that writes everything. He's like, no, I don't want to tour. I just want to write the stuff, and then like I'll be in all the branding, but for touring, this guy, he can play the stuff that I write. I don't want to go on the road. It's like, why, dude? How could you not want to be on the road?
Right. Yeah.
But it's each there, and
I guess it makes sense, but I mean, it kind of depends. I mean, just as a professional musician, it seems like you'd want to get out there and let people hear you live, and but
Well, responsibilities, I suppose, are prioritizing.
Yeah, exactly. And again, work can get in the way and things like that, other life in general. So that's cool. I wanted to talk to you about your lyrics and your lyrical approach. Kind of what are your inspirations? What are you trying to convey? And that's one thing I'm always kind of curious about too. With any musician, especially lyricists, are there times when fans just seem to completely misinterpret your lyrics, and are you okay with that?
So it's kind of like a two-part.
Yeah, sorry, it was kind of loaded. It's a loaded question.
No, it's not necessarily loaded, but it is answered in two parts. So first half, do I feel like people misinterpret the lyrics? And then the second half, wait, what? Say
kind of your
question again. It's two parts.
Why don't we'll start with kind of what are your inspirations for writing? Kind of what is the impetus of your writing? Where did that start from? What kind of inspires you as a writer?
Okay. So inspiration as a writer mainly comes from, well, it started as like kind of poetry that I read when I was in as early as grade school, I guess, like just random books. One that sticks out is The Call of the Wild. I'm pretty sure it's Robert Frost. And it's about kind of like how the city encroaches on the wild, but the wild still calls to be inside of the city. Like the heart of the man still wants to be wild in some way. Like you can never like totally civilize like the human soul, even though we can, it's nice. It's inspirational. And then since probably around 10th or 11th grade, I started kind of wanting to do concepts behind vocals and concepts behind it more instead of just like outside of poetry. So the 3-song demo was sort of focused on just like the classic MySpace deathcore lyrics, just angst, just standard angst. And then for Hail to Agony, the EP, it's more focused on anguish and suffering. So each of the song lyrics in there kind of tell the story of an individual or a situation where you can find suffering or anguish in that situation. And then the next CD, I don't know. I know more death, more death, more suffering, more pain.
Cool.
All the standard metal shit.
Right. And it seems like, it's funny, not necessarily ha funny, but it's funny that, being a death metal fan for many, many years, and, there's lots of songs about plague and, and pestilence and things like that. And then now we're living in this pandemic world. It's bizarre that it's kind of come full circle and it's become a reality for a lot of people. And
shout out Cattle to Cap.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, crazy. So and then the second part of my question was, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but just misinterpretation of lyrics. I've always been curious about, and if it matters to the artist, because a lot of artists will say that like once I put music out there, it's public domain now. I don't own it anymore necessarily. It's not mine anymore. It's the listeners. But I would imagine, there maybe, I don't know if this is true for you or not, but I would imagine there's times when somebody will come, oh, I really like your song about blah, blah, blah. And like, that's not what that song's about.
So the only time that's actually happened so far, but maybe it's just because I haven't heard people talking to me about my lyrics outside of interviews yet, is I had to frame someone's kind of consideration for the intro of AO. He was thinking it was like metaphorically, and it's literal in the context of the song. The guy summoning the demon. He's like, we can talk about like summoning demons into our life. I was like, wait, no, let me frame it properly. It's actually this guy in the story actually summoning demons because of a personal pain that he's experiencing, and he wants these to help him solve it. It's like, if you think of it metaphorically, you'll miss the story there, the flavor. Right. And that's the only time I feel like someone's misinterpreted anything. And then as far as the second question is concerned, if it is misinterpreted after I die, that's probably fine and also somewhat inevitable. But while I'm alive, I feel it's kind of my duty to best express myself in the most descriptive way possible and use possibilities and potentials like this interview to explain kind of the context and what I'm trying to express, what Nailsplitter's trying to express, in as best as possible, like using the best words to describe it so that it's communicated. And that's sort of like on me. If I don't communicate that well enough in the chances that I get, then I almost deserve to be misinterpreted, you know?
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Let's take a step back in time a little bit and talk about kind of how you got started in music in the first place. You know, what did you come from a musical family? What was the inspiration for you to in terms of music?
So my dad was a bass player in the church band that he was in South Dakota. I started singing in choirs as early as 8, 9 years old, and I realized I had an aptitude. My ears have a pretty wide range, a little higher than normal as well. I work on vehicles, and when I scan these vehicles, there's a test in some of the telematics units that uses an aural signal. It's not supposed to be audible by humans, but I can hear it, and it's incredibly painful. So I have to be on the outside of the vehicles if it has a telematic unit with all the windows rolled up. Otherwise, it's very painful. So I figured that out when I was like very young. So I really would have kind of gravitated extremely densely to music just specifically because of my ears, I'm convinced. And then it's just been a part of my life ever since. It started with music in choir, like church choirs, moved to show choir performances when I was teen years. I'm not exactly 100% sure what age. Toured around a little bit with those groups, discovered metal around the age of like 15 or 16. Mostly like European Christian metal bands, and then moving into solid state tooth and nail bands here in the States. And then that kind of developed with Cradle of Filth into like black metal. And then that moved into deathcore on MySpace around 2004, 2005 era sort of time. And then here recently, within the last 4 years, I'd say, like when I was 28, 29, ish is when I started really kind of digging into more classic metal, more old school metal, more modern death metal, which eventually got me to like underground death metal, like this Norwegian underground death metal. Hod is probably just like one of the heaviest things I've ever heard in my entire life, but there's not a single breakdown, which I never thought I'd ever say in my entire life. It's like one of the coolest things in the world, dude. So like finding that, feeling like that was going backwards when I was younger, but now I see it as progression, gives me a lot of encouragement for the future of my interest in music and the future of music as a whole. It's never going to stop. It's just going to keep growing. It's just going to keep changing. It's just going to keep getting heavier, more technical and darker, and sweet. Metal is fucking sick.
That's great. It's great. And it's cool, you know, kind of circling back to the band and you know, Hail to Agony, the music on there and the lyrics on there and just all those influences that you and your fellow bandmates have. And it's interesting just what you just said about kind of your growing up and what you were listening to and those types of influences that are prevalent there as well. And some of it's probably more subtle, but there's definitely, that was one thing that I was thinking, and maybe it's because of the symphonic elements to it, and some of your vocal ranges that you change throughout. I was going to ask you if there had been any, not necessarily Cradle of Filth exactly, but some of that symphonic black metal. There seems to be, you know, that element there as well.
I love it. I'm such a sucker for it. The new CD, the new Cradle CD.
It's fantastic.
So sick, dude. It's so sick.
Yeah, that's a great album. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a big fan as well. And yeah, that I've always liked them, but that
Yeah.
I felt like that's kind of re-energized my, like I said, I've always liked them, but I think that album, yeah, it's just solid from front to end.
I think they found the new Cradle sound and nobody can dispute it anymore. It's kind of like when Amphetamine came out, they were at a peak. When Midian came out, they were at a peak. I feel like this CD is another type of Cradle peak where they've just absolutely nailed it. Like, just perfection.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hopefully, maybe someday Nail Splitter will be touring with Cradle of Filth.
Quit it. Get out of here. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Danny, if you see this, that'd be sick. Let's go, bro. Let's go.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, I would imagine you guys have, would hope to play, festivals at some point, or are something that you're looking into?
Yes, absolutely. Any exposure that we can give the band, any exposure that we can give metal. Me personally, I want to go the Black Dahlia route, where they just try to be as, like what we talked about earlier, we want to be approachable, we want to be accessible, we want people to bang their fucking heads. Like when they hear it, we want to see movement that was not conscious. Like if they're bobbing their head or tapping their foot or doing any sort of, like, they're engaged without like having to like try to be engaged, then I feel like I did my job, and it'll make metal bigger, it'll make metal grow, like, yeah, what all the bands did for me when I was growing up, I want to do for the next generation with Nail Splitter and any other band that I'm in.
Well, as you said, with the approachability, and I think what it maybe it is, and I'm not exactly sure, but I mean that was the, like you said, bobbing your head, tapping your foot. I mean, that's immediately when I first heard Nail Splitter, when I first heard the Hail to Agony EP. Yeah, I just immediately started, and I think it's so, again, it's complex music, but there's this just underlying killer riff, these killer riffs that are, and that's, I think, kind of what is that driving, just it's really cool stuff.
I agree.
Yeah, so hopefully people will definitely check you guys out. I'll have I was going to say in the description of this interview, if you look below, there'll be links to check you guys out, especially the Bandcamp. So that's the cool thing about Bandcamp. Yeah, listen to the entire album, check it out. It's
free.
Really good. Yeah, for free. Yeah, it's fantastic. And then download it or buy a CD.
You guys can torrent it as well. We have Cedars, I found out. So if you can't afford the CD, go torrent it. Like, this is me, the vocalist, telling you, go torrent the music. I'd rather you listen to it than not be able to.
Yeah, and it's really cool stuff. I think I'm excited to see kind of where Nail Splitter goes. I'm excited for the future of Nail Splitter, and very excited to hear that you guys looking at having a full-length album in the not too distant future. That's exciting news. And
that would be ideal. Yes. Can't wait. Oh, can't wait.
Yeah, that'll be really cool.
Dream come true.
Yeah. That's great. It's happening. So that's what's cool to see. What is and this is kind of a silly question maybe, but just not living there, what is the metal scene like in Denver? What is that, especially the underground metal scene? What is that scene like?
So it's much stronger than I thought it was. When I got here, I expected a typical kind of city scene like I had in Greensboro, North Carolina, or like in Michigan. The scenes, they're strong, they're present. I was just kind of expecting that here in Denver, but the Denver metal scene is all over the place. In Colorado Springs, we have Dark Descent Records, which is an underground, like just death metal, like strictly death metal label. They're down there in Colorado Springs, and then here in Denver we have Swinging Noose Productions, which does everything from death metal to deathcore to symphonic stuff, and then there's like more booking agencies that do strictly symphonic, strictly like kind of like big name metal bands that come through, like the Enterprise Ingested lineup that came through recently. They did, I can't remember the name of their group right off the top of my head, but the point is everybody is doing like a different thing. Like there's so many metal things going on. It's so intricate. It's like, I wouldn't say it's necessarily massive, but it's present. Like there's like 4 or 5 different metal bars. Like we got the burger joint, Kava's Burgers or something. The whole place is just a metal burger / bar that they have venue, or that's also a venue, excuse me.
Oh, cool.
It's great. I can't complain. You know, it's more than I expected, and it's more than I can handle, honestly. That's why we're kind of made the band, kind of trying to catch some wave, like build the band up to a point to where we can like catch the next like big thing. Apparently, when I moved here, right in 2018, like the biggest polling deathcore band in like the direct Denver area, they had like just broken up, and it was like the first show that I went to when I moved back here to Denver since I moved back. It was huge. It was huge. There was like 400 people all crammed into this little space. It felt like a high school show from back in the day. It was awesome. I was like, this is sweet. You know, like I want to do this. We haven't had anything like that since, because COVID hit like almost a year later. So it's still recovering, but I feel like it's going to come back even stronger, because like the people that are doing it, like Zach at Swinging Noose, they just put their heart and soul into it, man. Like their whole lives are this now, because it was taken from us.
Yeah.
So now we're kind of doubling down on everything that we were half-assing before COVID, so that, you know, we can have back what it took. You know, like it's time to double down. Everybody else that gave up while we were staying the course, like we get that share, you know, and then push it forward, make it happen.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. Well, nice. Well, I can't wait to hear the new material. That's going to be great. And you said, so the new single you're looking at coming out probably sometime in April, hopefully.
Yep. At the latest, mid-April, late April.
Nice.
Hopefully I'd like it by early April. That's my ideal spot. I just got to finish the lyrics quickly. That's we're kind of waiting on me.
Gotcha. Well, I should let you go so you can start working on some lyrics. But Xulxer, this was really a pleasure. Thank you so much for chatting with me. I had a great time chatting with you. And yeah, again, like I said, I'm really excited about the music. I'm excited what you guys are doing in Nail Splitter, and cannot wait to hear the new music and see you guys just continue to more success to all of you. So.
Oh yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeet.